Hello and welcome to Repreneur TV. I'm your co-host, Velma Gallant. Super excited to have you here today. We have another amazing guest to share with you, and you've probably seen him in the community already. Juan Dajan helps entrepreneurs and executives who feel stuck in their lives move forward, even when other modalities have failed them, using his core resonance process guaranteed. He has been serving his fellow humans from a very young age. In 2014, he founded Energy Connect and began focusing on successful individuals, helping them with life-transforming breakthroughs. Welcome to the show, Juan.
Thank you, and thank you for the introduction.
So today we are talking about how to function in the now. And I'm excited about this conversation because it's something that I know that I focus on very consciously for myself, and it's something that I choose to support others with as well. So I'm excited to learn about your perspective on this and be able to have, I know this is going to be a good conversation, and I know that our listeners are going to get a lot from this. Okay, so you and I were touching on this subject before we got started, and I hesitated to go too deeply in it because it is an exciting and very interesting topic. One of the things we talked about very briefly was how important it is to be here in the now, and how often we can end up in the past and how often we can end up in the future. And one of the things that you mentioned to me was that you find that entrepreneurs and business owners more often than not end up in the future. Now, can you say a little bit more about that?
Oh, definitely. The thing is with the entrepreneur and business people, we are taught when we go to school, when we are around in the community or anywhere, it's like, oh, you need to think about what's your next step.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have the next step in a plan, but to always be like ahead of time and trying to think about the next step, we miss that step that we need to make at this moment, which is going to make the next step better.
Mm.
Because all the action
Mm-hmm.
we take now is the one that is going to reflect for the future.
You
So
know,
yes, go ahead.
I like what you're sharing there, because what I'm hearing is that more often than not, we're focusing on 2, 3, 4 steps in advance and not even paying attention to the steps that's right here, right now. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, that's exactly what I said, and we tend to do that because we are thinking, okay, and there's a lot of assumption when we do that because we don't know what's in the future. We assume something is going to happen, and
Mm-hmm.
assumption is not a very good thing to go along with, from my
No,
perspective.
there's a saying about assuming, and
Yes.
and what I really like about what you share there, and I think that's really important, is um, I know for myself, if I'd have known too much, like too many steps in advance of what was coming towards me, I probably would have tried to dodge a lot of it. So I don't know that standing or trying to stand too far in the future actually serves us, because sometimes what we want to have happen is not there, or we get too attached to what could happen in the future. I think I heard someone say that when we're in fear, we're in the future, and when we're sad, we're in the past. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we can easily, I can understand that because we always think about the past with melancholy or things like that. Or I should have done, I should, and the
Mm-hmm.
future is like, oh, I doubt what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
doubt is a kind of fear for me.
Yep.
So you're right when you say we are sad in for the past and fearful for the future. So one time we can enjoy ourselves and be joyful is in the present.
And again, that makes a lot of sense to me, because um, I can appreciate and have gratitude for the past, but I can't be in joy back there because it doesn't even exist anymore.
Yes. I think this a couple of days or so ago, I mentioned something that in a post, the past doesn't exist. The past is an illusion.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it really it only exists, both the past and the future
Up
just
here,
exist up here. Yeah, exactly.
we cannot touch it. We cannot do anything about it. So
Okay.
when something is up here, we can consider it an illusion.
Agreed. Agreed. Because that's our imagination. Our
Mhm.
imagination is, we can experience our imagination by recalling things of our past, or we can also experience our imagination as we're projecting into the future. And I do see value in both of these, right? Like, I know I like saying there's the rearview mirror is small for a reason. Um, because it's important and it's valuable information, but that's all it is information.
Yes, I'm not saying we should disregard the past. It's like the
Hmm.
past, it's something we experience. What did we experience? What are we taking from the past and bring it along with us in the present? It's like we don't go back in the past trying to live in the past. Somebody, for some reason, smack us, and we keep thinking about, oh, it hurt, it hurt, it hurt. Why did he do that? Why did she do that? Or keep going all that question and things like it, rehashing the story where
Hmm.
there's nothing we can do about it. We
Agreed.
cannot go back and prevent that from happening. The only thing we can do is take the experience with us and see, okay, what was that about? And look at the experience, not the story. The experience was, okay, I was smacked. That's it.
The facts.
That's a fact. I was
Yeah.
smacked. I'm not trying to figure out, oh, I was right when I say that, or I did say that, and it I because this person is that, or whatever. Whatever the
Hmm.
situation was, doesn't matter. The only thing that mattered was I smacked. Can I prevent me from getting smacked again? Maybe yes. So this is how I think it is. And one good tool that I have, and everybody has, to be in the present is the breath.
The breath.
Yes.
Okay.
We all talk about taking deep, we all know about, okay, take a deep breath. Yes. Okay.
Hmm.
We breathe every day, every minute of our life. Even when we are sleeping, we breathe. But do we breathe consciously?
Mm-hmm.
That's a difference. When we live in the present or when we live in the now, everything we do is done consciously.
Okay.
So when we take conscious breath, let's take a couple of seconds and take a couple of conscious breath. Everybody is watching can go along with us.
Okay.
And just do that breath. Feel it. Feel the breath. Enjoy the breath. And notice the difference. And again, I say notice. I did not say is it better or worse. Just notice. That's the other thing is judgment. When we live in
Mm.
the now, we don't bring judgment with us. Things
So
are just as is.
right, and that makes sense to me, because what I'm hearing is, and you talked about it a bit earlier, was about the stories, what, facts versus stories.
Mhm.
And so when I'm being conscious, I'm kind of living in the facts. I'm living in what is. I'm not going up into my head and analyzing it.
Exactly. Because there's always more facet of the story than that we know of.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So we
Um,
only see one facet of it our from what I'll call our lens.
mhm.
Our lens, everybody has a different lens.
Yes, indeed.
And
Take these off. I see things differently.
from my lens, so from my perspective, which is what I call my lens, I can see things a lot different from somebody else who is next to me, who had even twins doesn't see the same thing the same way.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Agreed.
what makes us special. Every one of us is special. Every one of us is unique. Our uniqueness is what makes us special.
So you're talking about lenses, and I know I have some opinions on lenses, and I kind of feel like I have two lenses, sometimes more, but really it boils down to two lenses, and one of those lenses is my mind, my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Another lens might be my heart or my intuition.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
Okay. You can have two lenses. Depend on. We need the lens of the mind if you want,
Mm-hmm.
but we need to be guided by the lens of the heart.
Okay.
We need the mind. The mind is here for a purpose. We need it. We need the ego. We need all that kind of things that people say we need to get rid of. No.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
like getting rid of a hand. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. It is part of me.
yes, to me, I'm a little controversial that way because I said everything that you have it already. It's everything that you need, you have it already.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. It's just like we just don't know how to get in touch with it. It's already there. It's ready for you to take, to enjoy.
Okay.
We
Okay.
are not broken. We we go to all those places. I've seen people, and I know of people, and that spend so much time and effort trying to fix themselves. We don't need to be fixed. And when we are present, we know that. We know, okay, I am here, I am now. And again, and understand your language. When we said I am, it's personified that thing that we are saying I am.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, we tend to do that with feelings. We are not the feeling. We feel the feelings, but we are not that feeling. We are not angry or we're not joyful. We feel angry, we feel joy, we feel all those feelings, but we are not that. So
Right.
so the language is important when we live in the present moment. When I said I am here, I put myself here in this moment. I am now. Again, I bring back that moment, the now, in this sphere, if you want. So I'm not anywhere else where I could be. but right there at this moment.
Okay, there's a lot of good stuff in there, and so the
Hmm.
I am here, I am now, versus I am angry. And even as I say that, it's like, well, it feels elusive, right? It doesn't feel right. I might be feeling anger, but the I am is feeling the anger. I'm not the anger. And that's identifying with things that are outside of us, or
Yes.
it's identifying with an experience. It's an identifying with a thought. It's identifying with a feeling. And I'm not that. I can see that. I can experience it. I can observe it, but it's not who I am. That would be like, um, saying, um,
I am that piece of paper
I'm
in front of you.
yeah, I am the piece of paper in front of me. I am the pen, but the I am is actually holding the pen, and the I am is actually writing on the paper.
Yes and no.
Okay, okay, okay. Let's play with that. Let's play. I'm excited to hear what you have to say about that.
Okay. Your I am is more than that body that we have.
Right.
So the body that we have, the person,
Mm.
Velma, me, Juan, whoever it is holding the pen. Right. But the true being, the true self, if you want, is not holding the pen.
It's observing me hold the pen.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is. And if we start doing that, and when we start observing and start paying attention, not necessarily stop doing things and just like focus on something, but understand that we are not what we think we are, for one, and two, not identify ourselves to anything. We we are human, yes, but the human that we are is not the true self. And when you can get to that point where you can understand the true self, that's when those sages and things like this sometimes cannot stay in that realm that we are, as in that creation that we are in at this moment,
Hmm.
and they become hermits. They move away from society and everything, because that's when they understand okay. And that's why they call it also the illusion.
Yeah. So I'm actually what I'm hearing is that um we want to understand that we are more than this physical being. This physical being is it's kind of like my car.
It's a jacket of the book, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm kind of connecting it to a car reference because we're on a journey, right? So
Okay.
I'm driving the car. The who I am is driving this vehicle of my body.
Hmm.
I have my rear view mirror, which I can see my past. I have my front windshield where I can see where I'm going.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm
And
not anywhere else than inside of my car.
no, that's where you are.
Yeah.
And
So
you are the true self is the driver. You, the car, is on the journey, and there's somebody driving the car, which is your true self, the
mhm,
driver. And that true self is sometimes hijacked by the ego.
mhm.
And that's a conversation for a different time.
Well,
And
and I think Um, I want to take some of this into the practical because I know myself, I love this conversation and I could be going down some really fun rabbit holes with you on this one. So I want to bring it into a little bit of the practical here and now. So how do we function? How do we function in the now where we're utilizing this, this jacket cover that contains the pages of who we are? How do we function in our world right now, understanding that we only have the now?
Okay. First thing, again, is the breath. So whenever we feel like we are not in the moment, we just take that proverbial deep breath, but do it with intent. I'm bringing myself in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing, you can center yourself. Everybody talk about centering yourself, but did anybody show you how to center yourself?
I know for myself, when I think about centering myself, I think about grounding myself.
Okay. There's a very simple way to center yourself. You take your right hand,
Okay.
you just go this way, bring it in front of you, and go down toward the center line, up to your heart. And whenever you feel off balance, you center yourself this way. Ground yourself. Again, grounding, people talk about grounding. We walk outside, go in nature and things like that. That's great. But again, when we live in the now, we need to do it with intent. Ground yourself. You wake up in the morning, take a couple of deep breaths. As you put your feet down on the floor, you get out of the bed, ground yourself. Put the intention of, okay, I'm going to ground myself. You imagine two rods coming out of your feet, they are telescopic rods, and they go all the way towards the center of the earth. Again, you don't need to know where it is exactly. Just put the intention in it.
Mm-hmm.
And feel, as you do that, feel what happened to you. We can do it now, and you can feel what's going to happen to you. Just take a couple of seconds and take a breath, and as you exhale through this rod as it's going down towards the center of the earth.
I like that visual. It's a very simple visual.
Simplicity is a sophistication of everything.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I like simple things.
Me
But we
too.
tend to complicate things. When you live in the now, you use simple things.
I really like what you said there. I really like what you said there because as I look at myself, when I'm overcomplicating things, I am not present. I'm up here, right? So I really like that. So we've talked about using breath consciously and with intention. We've talked about centering consciously and with intention. We've talked about grounding consciously with intention. So you've given us 3 tools to bring us right here into the now. Why do we want to be in the now?
If we are not in the now, if you're eating a cake and you enjoy eating cake, you take a piece of cake and you're thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow when I'm going to work. You will not be able to enjoy that cake. You will be able to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I ask you, okay, what flavor it, you may not even have noticed the flavor of that cake, even though you enjoy eating cake. So everything we do, if we are not present, we miss part of it. It become routine.
Okay.
And
Okay.
another tool that I can give you is, or give everybody that is listening, is when we tend to get into the rut again, the rut, which is the routine,
Mm-hmm.
which is the wheel from the Latin word rotare.
Okay.
So when we got into that routine, what we can do is just we notice, okay, this is what we need to do. We're having a conversation with especially as entrepreneur and salesperson and things like this. We are, and that's what I like with Terry. She always said, be present. And yesterday she was doing a presentation and she said, now let's be present. She had a very eloquent way of saying it, but that's what she said. And anyway, so we are here and we feel that, okay, we are starting to not listening to that person. We are thinking about, okay, what's the next thing I need to say? What's the next thing I need to present? So we just go back and say, am I conscious or am I awake? By just saying that to ourselves, we don't need to say it out loud. We just say it in the mind. It brings us back to the present because we are breaking away from that. We have that break that come up.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So, with these tools bringing us back into the now, I believe that this gives us access to the other than physical part of ourself. When we're back, when we bring ourselves into the present, we have access to the driver. Why do we want access to the driver? What are the gifts that we get from that when we are present and in the now?
Well, when we are present, the first thing that will become alive is our intuition.
Mm.
And our
Okay.
intuition are there for a reason. Like I said, we are not broken. We are all perfect the way we are. We just need to dust off things that has been accumulated.
I like that. Yeah.
So when the intuition is there, this is our infinite wisdom, if you want, our intuition.
Okay.
Because our intuition is part of what we know, what we don't know, what we perceive, and what we don't perceive.
Okay.
It is like, let's say, our intuition is like Superman with the X-ray vision.
I really like that. I like what you said there about it. It's our infinite wisdom. It gives us access to what we know and what we don't know. So it gives us access to what we might not consciously know. So
Exactly.
we get to know what we didn't know we didn't know.
This is, I don't know if it ever happened to you. You talking about something and you say something out and you put out a fact and somebody asks you, okay, how do you know that? I just know.
Right? I've experienced that so many times. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with a young man not the other day who's part of my extended family, and I said something in that conversation. I'm not going to repeat it here because it's private, and it was just, do you think this or do you feel this? And I could see the light bulb go on, and there's no way that I should have known that thing. Yet I was, and I had access to that, like you said, because I was fully present in the moment. I was only there with him in that moment.
The thing about it, when you're present also, it brings you back to the core of things, which is the oneness.
Mm.
We are all connected. We believe it or not, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
We don't believe in gravity, we go up the roof and we say, okay, I'm going to fly. I don't believe in gravity, we are going to fall. Or if you bring somebody from the Amazon that have never seen electricity and they put their finger in the socket, they're going to get electrocuted.
Mm-hmm.
So those are
They might
physical
have a
law that,
different story about it than we do, but
that we believe it or not, it's there.
Mhm.
The same for our intuition and everything else. We can say, okay, I believe it. I don't believe it. That's fine. Your belief is up to you, but does that prevent you from getting the feedback?
I really like that. I think that's so important to say, because what I'm hearing from you is the intuition is there. Whether we believe it or not, whether believe that what we're experiencing, thinking, feeling, whatever it might, however that intuition might be expressed, doesn't change that it's there. We may not act on it. We may not trust it, but it's still there.
Yes. And like everything else, when we start suppressing it, that little voice start getting less and less and less.
Mm-hmm.
If we spend days with our eyes closed, when we open it, we will not be able to see the way we saw before until our eyes adapt itself again to the light. Or if
Mm.
we've been in a dark room for a while and we come out, it's overwhelming when we come out to the light.
Right. Right. That makes sense. So when we suppress our intuition, or when we ignore our intuition, those things that we pay more attention to are the louder voices. So when we quiet ourselves, come into the now, be present, if with any of those tools that you've shared today, we actually create the opportunity to be able to connect back into that intuition again. Our eyes adjust.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes we need some help for that, because we've been conditioned so much about how we should do things
Mm-hmm.
that, let's say, it's like a very heavy blanket that was put on you, and you want to get rid of that blanket, but it's too heavy for you to pull it by yourself. So when you come to that situation and they're saying, okay, I want to be able to get out of that blanket, it's too hot in there, so you can ask for help.
I think that's a really important distinction. I think that's a really important distinction, because if we're going to practice being present more often, practice having access to our intuition again, we might have forgotten our intuition's voice.
Yes.
And so bringing in support to support us to recognize our intuition's voice again, I think is super valuable.
Yeah, like everything else that we want to learn or relearn, if we haven't drive a car for 50 years, we may
Mm-hmm.
want to go back to a driving school, because we may still know how to drive the car, but the road are different now from 15 years ago. The traffic is different. The traffic patterns are different. So we may want to go back like a couple of months to driving
Mm-hmm.
school before getting on the highway.
Awesome. Well, we have actually hit our time already. I know I got lost in this conversation because, again, it's topics that I find super fascinating, and I know you've given us some very specific tools to be able to access and be present now, and you've given us some good reasons why we want to be present now. And I think the most critical one is accessing our own intuition, being able to access what we know and remember what we've forgotten. I think there's a lot of beauty in that. And the reminder that we don't have to do it ourselves. We can reach out for help and support in order to, one, practice being more present and being able to access what being present gives us.
Definitely.
So, I know that you are very present in Heartrepreneurs with Terry Levine community. You've been sharing a lot of your wisdom there. So for those of you who are inside of the community, find one D'Argent, D''Argent. You will find him in the community. As a matter of fact, you probably just look in the next day's post and you will find him. Because he is a wonderful, wonderful community member who is being a contribution inside of Heartrepreneurs with Terry Levine. So we can find you there, and we can also find you on Facebook as well. Is that correct?
That's correct. I have a Facebook profile and a Facebook page, and I'm starting also a Facebook community. It's in a real infancy. I have only 2 persons in there from the group.
Okay. Okay. So those of you in the community, definitely connect with Juan. You will be able to receive value from him. And he is somebody who does support people with transforming and creating the kinds of breakthroughs that create the life that we really want and we want to experience. For those of you out in YouTube land, come on over to Heartrepreneurs with Terry Levine. As a matter of fact, I'm going to just throw that up here right now. There we go. It's down at the bottom of the screen there. Come on over to Heartrepreneurs with Terry Levine. You'll be able to connect with more heart-based business owners like myself, like Juan, like Terry, and there's so many of us here. Right now we're at more than 7,800 community members that you get to connect with. We look forward to seeing you there, and we'll see you on the next show. Thanks again, Juan. I really enjoyed the conversation.
It is my pleasure.
Awesome.